They're researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. As part of the EURAXESS Services Network and EURAXESS Worldwide webinar series, we are presenting to you today a topic which is part of a bigger umbrella of topics focusing on how to do a PhD in Europe. Today, we are going to talk about Spain. Our speaker and expert on the topic today is Xavier Eekhout. I would like to give him a very warm welcome and introduce him very briefly. Xavier is a biologist turned into an EU project manager. After specializing in international project management, in 2007 he was incorporated as a scientific manager in the Framework Program 6 Network of Excellence called EDIT, towards a European Distributed Institute of Taxonomy, for the technical and financial management of projects within the Spanish National Research Council, including the Secretariat of EDIT's Science Policy Group, and contributing to the manual on field recording techniques and protocols for all taxa biodiversity inventories. Since 2011, Xavier has worked for FECIT, which stands for Spanish Foundation for Science and Technology, in different periods under FP7 and Horizon 2020 projects linked to the EURAXESS initiative and researcher career development in general. Apart from EU projects, Xavier collaborates in the management of the EURAXESS Spain network coordinated by FECIT, including the administration of the national portal. Thank you very much, Xavi, for being here with us. And now I would like to give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and hello, everybody. I would like to thank this the possibility of sharing this information for doing a PhD in Spain, as it's a great opportunity to give visibility to the possibilities of doing a PhD, of the funding programs existing in Spain for doing a PhD. As Vicky mentioned, I work at the Spanish Foundation for Science and Technology, linked to EURAXESS. But I have to mention and I have to acknowledge the contributions made by some colleagues of the State Research Agency, which is the body. I will speak a little bit about it as part of my presentation, which is the body that manages the main PhD programs at national level here in Spain. So the Spanish Foundation for Science and Technology is actually a part of belongs to the Ministry of Science and Innovation. It's been around for quite some time now, since 2001, and it has as a core mission bringing science closer to society. But we also provide support to the ministry and things that have to do with, especially with EU policies, as part of the objective of supporting the Spanish R&D and I system towards its openness and its internationalization. And it's part of this last thread of activities, as Vicky already introduced. We are the national coordinators of the EURAXESS initiative in Spain. This is an EURAXESS activity, so you already know that it's a European Commission initiative in which 42 countries in total participate through these national networks. And our objective is supporting researchers in mobility and career development, which is the main reason, which explains why I am the person who will be providing a bit of an overview and some tips and some hints of how a researcher could do a PhD in Spain. As I said, I need to emphasize the fact that the programs, the core programs that I will be focusing on, are actually competence of the State Research Agency, which is also linked to the Ministry of Science and Innovation, but it's an autonomous body which was conceived through the Science Law of 2011, and which was officially created in 2015. And has been running on its own budget since 2017 for the benefit of the funding programs that it runs. Just as a bit of information, the president is actually the director of the State Secretariat of Research at the ministry, and the governing council has contributions from other ministries which have, let's say, a role to play in the R&D and I national ecosystem. It's also composed by researchers and, of course, by the personnel of the agency. And it's supported by a scientific committee, which is composed by 12 experts with very strong international profiles, which act as advisors. Which are the principles under which the state research agency work? Well, the idea is that they work with technical independence. Their objective is the evaluation of the scientific, technical, and innovating merit of the proposals submitted to each of the different calls that it manages, and this is done with pre-established criteria for maximum transparency possible. Just to show some figures, that's budget for 2020, it's around 600 million euros. And as a reference, in the previous year, in 2019, its total execution was almost 900 million euros in grants, and more than 200 million euros in loans. As a reference of size, it's about 300 people working for the state research agency. Majority of them are civil servants directly working for the agency, but also these 300 staff members include collaborating organizations and companies which are hired by the state research agency for implementing its activities. So if you want to do a PhD in Spain, what should you do? Well, obviously, because I'm an EURAXESS person, I will be using EURAXESS as let's say a guiding thread for this presentation. So what I would tell you is that the first thing you need to do is look for a possibility to do your PhD, and the first place that I would advise you to look for is the EURAXESS Jobs database. The EURAXESS Jobs database can be accessed directly through the European portal, which is the link that you have in the upper part of the slide. But you can also consult the same database from the national portals, which have the filters for the positions or the opportunities that you can find in Spain. The screenshot that you see there is the interface that you have for looking for research jobs, and it's a screenshot that I took this morning when we had 300, almost 400 research jobs published for Spain. And you have different criteria from which you can filter. And when you think about the PhD programs, you would have to look for the first stage researchers, the R1, which, as you can see there right now, we have 274 offers. Then within the national portal of EURAXESS, so the EURAXESS Spain section, we also have some specific content, which is actually the key framework of the suggestions that I will be giving you for looking for PhD opportunities in Spain. We have a section which we call Science in Spain, where we have what we consider key information about research opportunities of all levels in Spain. And I would like to particularly emphasize what I would call the jewel of our crown, which is the career path in Spain at glance. This is a document which we prepare from PECIT with the contribution basically of every member of the national network and also of the ministries and the state agency, of course. And what we do there is that we map, based on the structure of what would be the traditional research career in Spain, we map all the funding opportunities, the recruiting funding opportunities that you have linked to all the different career stages. We published this autumn, actually, I mean, it's quite recent, about 1 or 2 months. We published the 5th edition because, as I said, we do a strong effort in every year updating content. Some parts of the content stay there because they are more or less periodic, but then every year we map all the opportunities that will be showing up, and we include it as part of this document. So, key message: you want to do a PhD in Spain, and I would add even any other research positions. First thing you should do let's go and check our career path in Spain at a glance. This is a part of the career path, as I was telling you. In the upper part, you have what would be a traditional research career in Spain, going from the undergraduate degree until a senior permanent position. And where we will be focusing today is in the blue side, the one which is about doing the PhDs. I have to mention, of course, I will start the calls that we cover in the career path go from the European level, national and regional opportunities. So starting with the European calls, obviously one possibility to do a PhD in Spain would be through the Marie Sklodowska career actions, either through the innovative training networks, which are public-private partnerships that allow for the recruitment of early stage researchers, meaning undergraduate researchers that still do not hold a PhD and are within their first years of full-time dedication to research. There are different models, different types of ITNs, of innovative training networks. I will keep the information here. You will have the slides and you can check it. You can check it here, but I'm not going to go into detail because I'm not the best person probably to talk about them. But I will show you now the context that you need to know in case you want to use Marie Sklodowska career action as a way of doing a PhD in Spain. The second kind of MSCA actions which allow for doing a PhD in Spain are the Cofund programs, which is a co-financing mechanism of the European Union, which supports national and regional research, mobility, and career development programs. Again, I have in this slides some pieces of the key information of what are the main characteristics of this kind of actions, of Marie Curie actions, and the fact that through Cofund you can have either doctoral programs, which are specifically for the recruitment of early stage researchers, and the fellowship programs, which are for postdoctoral researchers. As I was saying in the previous slide, I'm not the best person to talk about it, but what I will offer you here is the key contact point in case this is a path that you want to explore. We have our colleagues who are the Marie Sklodowska Career Action national contact points, Cristina Gomez and Jesus Rojo, who are also very close to the EURAXESS family in Spain. And you have their contact there, as well as the main site, the Horizon 2020 page that we have right now with all the key information on these actions. You probably know that at this stage, we're in December, we're just about to start the Horizon Europe, but still, I mean, going through this URLs, you will get to the updated pages once Horizon Europe is running, as it will be the same people engaged in supporting researchers with these programs. And also, to get more information about the Marie Curie actions and the Marie Curie possibilities, I would invite you to keep a close eye on our EURAXESS Worldwide colleagues, who are much more, have a much larger expertise than myself in the Marie Sklodowska Career actions. And I also include there the website of an ongoing EU-funded project where the participants are the national contact points of all the different countries, and where you have many resources for the NCPs, but also directly for the researchers, with lots of details of the different programs. So, second tip, if you want to know more about Marie Sklodowska Career Actions, this is the place to go. Going back, making a connection between the Marie Sklodowska Career Action and the EURAXESS Jobs database, the thing is that there is a possibility of looking for open positions linked to Marie Curie in the country using the interface for browsing in the EURAXESS Jobs database. In this case, apart from the research profile, which would be the R1 for the PhD candidates, you would have to filter for country, and you would have to filter for the research program. And this are the possibilities that today we have published right now in EURAXESS Jobs. So it's 25 positions available. Then also, as part of the EURAXESS Spain specific content, and through the collaboration with our colleagues who are the national contact points of the Marie Sklodowska Career Actions, another part of the content of the science section that I introduced at the beginning is the MSCA Cofund programs, which are actually running right now in Spain. This is another part of the work that we do together with the Career Path. So every year we go with the support of our national network, we consult the institutions in Spain, and we ask which are the Cofund programs which are ongoing to try to give the maximum visibility possible to the positions that are available for researchers in Spain, including, as I said, pre-doctoral positions, which you can, as I said, you can look for them in the map and find information of each of the programs which are ongoing in this moment in Spain. Then we would go to the next level. This was the European possibility for doing a PhD in Spain. Now the national calls. I'm going to focus the career path. The document, the document of the career path has more information and more links, but I will be focusing specifically on the programs which are managed by the state agency, which are basically two of those three. It's the industrial doctorates and the predoctoral contracts for PhD trainings. The predoctoral training contracts for university teachers are very similar to the previous ones, but currently are managed by the Ministry of Universities, which is separated right now from the Ministry of Science and Innovations in Spain, in the current government. So this is a bit of an overview of these three programs in terms of facts and figures, so you can know what to expect from them. So in the case of the predoctoral training for future university teachers, which again, I'm not going to go into much more detail because they are part of the Ministry of Universities, but you will see that the conditions are very close to the next ones, to the predoctoral training of researchers. The ones for universities are 4-year training contracts for working on a PhD. And I emphasize the fact that they are contracts, they are not grants. The salary, as you can see there, it ranges from 1,100 to 1,500 euros, normally in an increasing way along the years that you are under the grant, the contract, sorry, and it covers 14 payments per year. In terms of timing, currently they're not open, but in terms of timing, so you have an idea, the last call was published in October 2019. It funded 850 contracts, and the previous calls were also at the end of the year in December 2017 and October 2018. So it is expected that before the end of the year, the call for this program will be opened by the Ministry of Universities, now in 2020. In the case of the predoctoral training for researchers, which is already one of the programs that is managed by the state agency, these are also 4-year contracts. The salary is, in this case, I'm giving the gross annual budget, but it's pretty close to the salary that I mentioned in the previous one on a monthly basis, and also it increases from one year to the other. And in terms of timing, this call, unfortunately, in terms of the timing that this webinar is taking place, the last call just closed rather recently on late October. It funded 1,100 contracts. And in terms of timing, also for you to be able to have an idea of the periodicity of these calls, the previous calls were basically more or less on the same period on the previous year, 2017, 18, and 2019. And then the third main funding program to do PhDs in Spain would be the industrial PhDs, which are another of the programs which are managed by the State Agency of Research. It's also 4-year contracts, in this case, for working in industry in a company. The salary works a little bit differently because what the program funds is it has a co-financing nature, so it covers a percentage of the salary of the person who's ultimately recruited. And in terms of timing, the last call, which was open, was officially from 2019, but it was actually open during January 2020. And what we know, and it funded 61 contracts, and what we know is that the next program, which is officially the industrial PhDs of 2020, will be open in the period that you can see there. Will be open between the 28th of January 2021 to the 18th of February 2021. Going a little bit into the details, so you know a bit some practicality, especially about the submission process. In the case of the predoctoral training for researchers, the participants are, on one hand, the research and development centers. They have have two conditions. The first one is that they need to have a project funded under the national plan of the previous years, and I will explain later why this is relevant. Or in a similar way, they have to be awarded by the National Research Excellence Program, which is called Severo Ochoa and Maria de Maeztu, which is a program for the Spanish institutions, which is also run by the state agency, in which every year, through the evaluation of international experts, they provide this award of research excellence to the research institutions which perform outstandingly in our national system. These programs, they receive additional funding. I mean, this award is also reinforced with additional funding, which allows them to have additional opportunities for recruiting researchers, including PhD candidates. The other part, the other half of the coin in this program, of course, are the candidates themselves, so the researchers. In this case, the requirements that need to be covered by the candidate is that they need to be admitted in a PhD program, and I'm talking now specifically about the funding program of 2020, the one that closed in October. So at the time of applying for the 2020, you had to be admitted to a PhD program for the coming year, or alternatively, be in the situation where you have the capacity of enrolling in a PhD program. The duration, as I mentioned before, of these contracts are 4 years, 48 months in total. The funding covers the salary, the figures I mentioned in some slides in the previous slide. It also covers, it gives a little bit of money for intersectoral and international mobility that reinforces the training element of the program. And this is a single amount, which you can see there. This is the figure of the last call. It was almost 7,000 euros that you can use during those 4-year contracts to have these mobility experiences, which are for the benefit of the future PhD. And the funding finally also covers the university fees of enrolling in the PhD program. It has a very interesting element, which I highlight there, which is the next bullet, which is the fact that if the PhD candidate actually presents the thesis before the 48 months, before the finalization of the contract, it allows for a period which is called postdoctoral orientation stage, in which either, although you already have your PhD, you're still benefiting from the program, and up to 5 to 6 months, you can be already with your PhD achieved, but still benefiting from the program as part of getting ready for your next postdoctoral stage. In addition, this call allows for teaching activities up to a maximum of 180 hours of teaching activity throughout the 4 years of the contract. In terms of procedure, the way that the applications are presented, you have to, the candidate, the researcher, would have to go to this link that you see there and would have to register as a candidate for the programs. At the time when the proposal opens, and you have the link there also to the proposal where you can find information also from the previous call, the one that had just called, but also the ones from the previous years. The candidate needs to present, can only present one proposal. It's per call. They have to select a research project. That's why I mentioned in the previous slide that the first half of the coin, or the first side of the coin, were the research centers, which have already research projects running. So you as a candidate will register, and once the call is open, you go there, and when you apply, you will apply for a specific project. Apart from selecting the project, you also have to present a valid passport in the case of the non-resident foreigners. You also need to present the CV, which can be either in Spanish or in English, and you have templates also available in the website. And you have to include information, your academic certification, which has to include information on the composition of your academic certification, the grades obtained, and the dates of those grades. And finally, there is a part of these programs that happens in all of the funding programs. There is a part which is specifically devoted to people with some kind of disability. So if it would be the case to apply for this specific subset of contracts, you will need, of course, to present a disability certificate. The presentation of the proposal is done everything online, although I will warn you that you need an e-signature, but you can also do it using valid registrations. Of course, if you're here in Spain, you have different opportunities, but if you are outside of Spain, a valid registration means an embassy or a consulate. You also have the possibility, it's explained in the website that I have linked there when the call opens. You also have the possibility of submitting a proposal through courier or mail directly to the ministry. But here you have to be aware of one important point, which is that the date the date that officially recognizes the submission is the date of reception, the reception in the ministry. So that means that if this is an option, you have to go for this option. You have to be quite careful with the periods, with the dates when the information, the proposal is submitted. In the case of the industrial doctorate, which, as I said, is the other core PhD program managed by the state agency, in this case, the beneficiaries directly are the companies, including large companies, small and medium enterprises, and also spin-offs. And as I said, this is in a format of co-funding. So I've included there in the table, you have two kinds of these beneficiaries, these companies, can present two kinds of projects: industrial research projects or experimental development projects. And depending on the kind of project, the grant offered by the state agency covers those percentages that you see there of the projects, depending on whether you are a small company, a medium company, or a large company. From the side of the candidate, of course, although the proposal is presented directly by the beneficiaries, by the companies, they need to include information on the candidate. The candidate is recruited directly by the beneficiary. This person has to be an undergraduate, so it has to be a PhD candidate, of course. And similar to the previous program, you need to be admitted in the PhD program of the following year, or at least have the capacity to enroll in one of the programs immediately after receiving the grant of the contract. And only a single candidate in a single call can only go in one proposal. And then similarly to the previous program, in this case, it's also 48 months, 4 years of contract. And in terms of salary, again, with this idea of being not funding the total salary, but a percentage, so a percentage would come from the program, and a percentage would be completed by the company. You also have a mobility grant. In this case, it's a little bit lower than in the previous program. And like in the previous program, it also covers the university fees needed to enroll in a PhD program. And in this case, you also have the possibility of having teaching activities but in less hours, as this is an industrial PhD. In this case, instead of 180 hours, it's 60 hours. In terms of the procedure, same thing in this case. Maybe this is not so relevant from the side of the researchers as a PhD candidate, because as I said, in this case, the beneficiary is the company, so the beneficiary needs to register like the researcher in the previous one. And when the call opens, and I emphasize again that this one we are still on time, so it's on between the late January and mid-February, the beneficiary needs to present a proposal where there is a description of the project to be implemented, a description of the PhD that will be part of that project to be implemented, information about the contract conditions, information about the candidate, meaning mostly the CV, of course, the CV of the coordinator in the beneficiary organization, And also academic certifications are needed in the case of the candidate. Sorry, but that bullet is a mistake. It should be on the other part. And in the case of companies which are very new, a business plan is also requested. And like in the previous case, the presentation of the proposal is all done online, also with some requirements in terms of e-signatures. How to keep track of these calls? I provided you some hints about the periodicity of the 3 programs that I mentioned at the beginning, including the one of the Ministry of Universities. But nevertheless, as part of our EURAXESS activities, we use what is the funding database, because in EURAXESS you can look for jobs, which is what I showed you before, but you can also look for funding programs. We try to keep when the funding programs are open in Spain. It can be the state agency directly publishing. If not, we can do it as a backup. We publish the programs when the windows, the calls are open. So keep an eye on the EURAXESS funding database also. And then regional calls. Most of these regional calls are actually linked to Cofund programs, but not exclusively. These regional programs, many of them, especially the ones which are under Cofund co-financing, they are periodic for a certain amount of time, but then some of them disappear, some of them appear. And this information, I would dare to say that it's particularly useful in the career development path, because as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a document that so far we've been able now for 5 years to check every year and renew it. So we make a round of consultations of all the programs, and we learn if in the next year and a half they're going to be running. So all of the information on the regional opportunities can be found in the career development path. In the research career path. Finally, as part of the well, not finally, because I have other content that I wanted to highlight as part of the career path. We also have a few private funding opportunities. Some of them for postdocs, but also a number of them which are for actually doing PhDs. Very much in the spirit of the regional calls, these calls might not be as periodic or as easy to forecast as the national programs. So once again, we think it's a very useful information that you can find in the career path. So again, go to the career path, keep an eye, and check it out every year. And last, this definitely regarding the career path, since 2 years ago, we started to include what we have called other professional options. This may be a little bit out of scope in regards to the PhD, to the topic of this webinar, which is how to do a PhD in Spain. But nevertheless, it might be relevant because there are some opportunities here also for undergraduate researchers, which ultimately could facilitate your pathway towards a PhD. So again, as part of the career path, you also have other R&D professional options there included, both at national level and at regional level. And I would like to emphasize once again and include here this website, which should be another one that you can consult regularly in order to find opportunities to do a PhD in Spain, which is the SOMA Alliance. This is an alliance of all the institutions which are awarded by the Research Excellence Program that I mentioned at the beginning, the Severo Ochoa and Maria de Maeztu program. As I said, this award comes with additional funding to implement an action plan, and those action plans normally include a part which is about reinforcing the human resources and research of the institution, to open new research lines or to reinforce existing ones or whatever. So as these institutions have, let's say, additional resources for recruiting researchers, you should also, it's worthwhile to also keep an eye on the website of the SOMA Alliance to be on the loop of any PhD opportunities that can come up, specifically in these research centers of excellence. And then, as I'm an EURAXESS member, the last tips that I will give you is that hopefully through one of these about one of these options that I mentioned, you would be able to find a suitable position for doing a PhD in Spain. So if you would have to travel to Spain, the last thing that I would like to highlight is that please check our EURAXESS Spain national portal, where you can find practical information when it comes to traveling to Spain and to living in Spain. You can also find a guide there for foreign researchers in Spain. And we try to keep it updated with information, with practical information, what can help you in your international mobility. And on top of that, as you can see, you can look for the information yourself. The portal is rich, even I would dare to say excessively rich in some parts. But you can also find personal assistants, which are the rest of our EURAXESS colleagues in Spanish institutions all across Spain. And here I would only like to highlight the fact that obviously every EURAXESS person in every institution cannot know absolutely everything, cannot be experts in every single topic related to the international mobility of researchers. So I would only advise you to keep an eye on two things if you look for a contact in EURAXESS, which is the area of coverage, because some EURAXESS centers have the mandate of only taking catering for the researchers of their institutions. Other EURAXESS centers have only the mandate of taking care of researchers in the city or in the region, and some others have national coverages. So if you want to look, if you have a position in a specific center, you can go to the EURAXESS site, you can look for the contact if you need any kind of assistance with your mobility or any kind of information, and you can find the information, you can find the contact information there of somebody who can help you. And in the worst possible scenario, of course, you're most welcome to contact us as national coordinators of the network. And even if we do not know the reply, which is quite likely that we might not know the reply, we most probably will be able to guide you to the right place to get the answer that you need. And that would be all from my side.
Muchas gracias, Xavi. Thank you so much for this very informative and full presentation about how to do a PhD in Spain. I'm sure that it will be very, very useful for our researchers around the world. Thank you again for being with us. Thank you again for your presentation and your time. And I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks to you, Vicky. And goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.